Welcome to TV Africa News. Hope you had a beautiful day. This is Africa Today. My name is Nahawe Kajura. First are the headlines.
Supreme Court dismisses an application by new presidential candidate Robert Kyagulanyi to amend his election petition challenging Museveni's victory. DP women challenge government on violation of human rights. And in sports, Coach Mole Biekwaso is confident that his team, the Hippos, will contend for the AFCON Under-20 title.
The news in detail. The Supreme Court cited today to hear an application by the NUP's president Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu seeking leave to amend the petition he filed last week challenging the election victory of the incumbent President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. We have more on this story.
During the hearing, Bobi Wine's lawyer, Medard Lubega Seguna, tells court that his client was under house arrest most of the 15 days in which he should have filed the petition, which is why a few aspects of the evidence were left out. Seguna told the panel of judges led by Chief Justice Alfonso Winyi Dolo that to date, Bobi Wine's office of NUP remained under siege by the same respondents. 9 judges led by Honorable Owinyi Dolo dismissed the application.
The officials from the National Bureau for NGOs addressed the nation on the allegations made by some NGO leaders against the government of Uganda on the suspension of the DGF. According to Mr. Okello, the president of this case is privy to information on national matters at level higher than other entity, including the NGOs.
On February 5th, 2021, some NGOs and other civil society organizations under the auspices of the Uganda National NGO Forum released a statement about the suspension of democratic governance facility and the post-election environment. Whereas citizens are free to express their views on matters that concern them, the NGO Bureau, as the regulator of the sector, took note of some of the disparaging comments in that statement. It is needless to note from the onset that His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda is primarily endeared by the Constitution to not only protect the lives and property of the citizens, but also to ensure the preservation of the sovereignty of the nation at all times. The President is privy to information on national matters at a level higher than any other entity, NGOs inclusive, and therefore takes action on matters that in his wisdom adversely affect the execution of his mandate. It was therefore unfortunate that some NGOs, working together with other civil organizations to attempt to portray the NGO's actions, the President's actions as having been uninformed. It is common knowledge world over that for any nation to be and remain tranquil, the observance and respect for the rule of law is paramount. And that includes respect for the directives of His Excellency, the Head of State.
The Democratic Party Women's League, led by Honorable Aisha Waligo, who is the president, issues serious warnings against the Electoral Commission on violating democracy during the elections. We have more on this story.
While briefing journalists at the party offices in Kampala, the president of DP Women's League, Honorable Aisha Waligo, has said that the Electoral Commission failed to take action on the violation and tortures on candidates during the election.
We are yet to act because if at all we are speaking about matters of violation of human rights in this country, just know that there is a woman, whether Democratic Party, whether other political parties, whether non-partisan, they are there suffering. That is why as Democratic Party Women's League, we are going to champion this, and we are giving an ultimatum to government that by Women's Day, if our issues are not answered, we shall be there and we shall show the world that Uganda is not worth a country living in by women.
She said women candidates suffered more during the exercise, including young people killed by the security groups. They have sent an ultimatum to the government of Uganda to Women's Day to attend on their petitions.
Let's go for a short break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. Welcome back from the break. And in our health news today, for more than 6 months, Tanzania has said it has had no coronavirus cases, and the government has tried to convince the world it has been cured from COVID-19 through prayers. It comes despite infections appearing to be on the rise and deaths attributed to pneumonia. We have more on this story.
But tourists are still visiting the archipelago of Zanzibar, where there are no coronavirus prevention measures such as masks and social distancing in sight. But the Roman Catholic Church in Tanzania has warned its followers to protect themselves. There are mixed messages from the government, which has asked people to avoid gatherings and to go to the hospital if suffering from breathing problems. But speaking anonymously, a health ministry official denied it was due to coronavirus. The World Health Organization reported 509 cases and 21 deaths in Zanzibar between March and May 9th. Since then, no cases have been reported, but residents say they are aware of cases. Denmark's Statens Serum Institute, SSI, which works on infectious diseases, confirmed 2 cases of the new South African variant that is thought to be more contagious in travelers returning from Tanzania. While other African countries are shutting borders, implementing stricter COVID measures and vaccinating, Zanzibar is rejecting the vaccine, with President Magufuli calling it dangerous. Africa's CDC Director John Nkengasong said it's a dangerous virus that spreads very quickly.
And in our international stories today, Sudanese Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok announced Monday a new cabinet bringing in 7 ex-rebel chiefs as ministers, following a peace deal in October aimed to end decades of war.
Veteran rebel leader and economist Jibril Ibrahim of the Justice and Equality Movement, which played a major role in the Darfur conflict, was appointed as Sudan's new finance minister. Hamdok dissolved the previous cabinet on Sunday to make a way for a more inclusive lineup in government. 2 ministers were selected from the military, with the remaining coming from the Forces for Freedom and Change group, which plays a key role in Sudan's politics. The group was the driving force behind the anti-government protests that led to the April 2019 ouster of strongman Omar al-Bashir. Hamdok named as foreign minister Mariam al-Sadiq al-Mahad, daughter of Sudan's last democratically elected prime minister Sadiq al-Mahad, who died aged 84 in November from a coronavirus infection. He was toppled by Bashir in a 1989 Islamist-backed military coup. Last week, Sudan appointed 3 ex-rebels to the ruling Sovereign Council, the civilian majority ruling body led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, which was installed months after Bashir's ouster. It follows the peace deal last year between the transitional government and the Sudan Revolutionary Front, a coalition of 5 rebel groups and 4 political movements, including the troubled western region of Darfur. Hamdok said he is still pushing for talks with 2 remaining holdout groups who did not sign the deal. Fighting in Darfur since 2003 left at least 300,000 people dead and 2.5 million displaced, according to the UN. Hamdok said his government will continue with completing other pillars of the peace agreement, including establishing a transitional parliament by February 25th. Despite the October peace deal, violence continues in Darfur, a vast and impoverished region awash with weapons where bitter rivalries over land and water remain. Hamdok said the new government will focus on fixing the ailing economy. Sudan's economy was decimated under Bashir by decades of US sanctions, mismanagement and civil war, as well as the independence of oil-rich South Sudan in 2011. Galloping inflation, chronic hard currency shortages, and a flourishing black market remain pressing challenges, with protests in recent weeks at the worsening economy. Ibrahim, the new finance minister, taught as an economist at the universities of Khartoum and Saudi Arabia before he took over leadership of the GEM rebels when his brother Khalil was killed in a 2011 airstrike. The government will also have to tackle stormy relations with neighboring Addis Ababa amid both border tensions and long-running negotiations, along with Egypt over the controversial Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam on the Blue Nile.
And in a business news today, the hip-hop artist Akon has launched yet another business endeavor on the African continent. This time, the impressive undertaking is in the mining industry, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, as he has signed a deal to finance copper and cobalt mine in the Central African country in a joint venture with a state miner.
A Senegalese star is delving into the sector by way of the firm White Waterfall LLC, which is registered in the United States, and sees Akon, whose birth name is Alian Thiam, recorded as both the president and the CEO of the company, as per contracts published on the Mines Ministry website. Perhaps not a surprise, as Akon has already publicly spoken about his interest in and admiration for DRC. One of the contracts reportedly signed the Grammy-nominated singer on December 14th of last year reveals a commitment of White Waterfall to pay a $2 million signing bonus and to finance a feasibility study of Chimono Reserve in Haut-Katanga province. Akon, his team, and his company representatives are yet to fully open up to the public and international media about the project, apparently the most recent in a string of business and philanthropic moves on the African continent over the last decade. The $6 billion futuristic Akon City in Senegal and a cryptocurrency called Acoin are two of the more popular ventures that Akon has launched. There are some who question the singer's moves and wonder if they are more self-serving or if there are true elements of continental development within their fabric. According to the business official website, White Waterfall is a private equity fund that invests in mining companies that are not publicly traded. The Democratic Republic of Congo is Africa's top producer of copper and the world's leading miner of cobalt. The country has suffered considerable economic exploitation for its abundant natural resources at the hands of Western entities. Several instances of human rights violations have garnered relative international mediatic attention, and few others in the grand scope of the happenings have led to actual legal proceedings where justice was served.
Supporters of an opposition figure who is accused of rape come to blows with police in the capital of Dhaka. Controversy has dogged Osman Sonko over media reports that an employee of a beauty salon had filed rape charges against him. Let's have more of the story.
Sonko finished third in the 2019 election, which saw President Macky Sall win a second term in office and is considered a future presidential contender in the West African state. The 46-year-old head of the opposition party denies allegations on Twitter, saying it's a political plot created by the president. He had visited the salon to receive messages to relieve back pain and said the rape accusation was an attempt at political liquidation, adding that two people had always been present during the message. Sonko reportedly refused to attend a police summon on Monday, saying he had parliamentary immunity, but said he would speak on investigators if it was lifted. Sonko's current whereabouts are unknown. Senegal's government was also not immediately available for a comment.
An alliance of Somali opposition leaders has announced they no longer recognize President Mohamed Farmajo as the head of states, as his mandate officially ended in February 8th. Let's have more on this story.
Previous talks between representatives of the federal states and the central government in Dasamareb had failed to produce a political agreement. Farmajo and the leaders of Somalia's 5 semi-autonomous federal states reached an agreement in September that paved the way for indirect parliamentary and presidential elections in late 2020 and early 2021. But it fell apart as squabbles erupted over how to conduct the vote and last-minute talks to salvage the agreement that collapsed Friday. Jubaland, one of the regions at odds with Mogadishu, accused Farmajo of refusing their attempts at compromise. The president blamed his rivals for reneging on the terms. With no deal in sight, opposition leaders fear President Mohamed Farmajo might request a term extension, a move lawmakers say they would reject. The Villa, as Somalian call the presidency, has dismissed rumors saying the government planned to request on-term extension from parliament. The opposition alliance suggested the creation of a council of lawmakers that could elect a transitional leader to govern until elections can take place. Somalia's foreign backers urged Somalia's divided political leadership to resume their dialogue urgently so that elections can take place as soon as possible. Any attempt at partial or parallel elections would not be supported by the international community, the statement continued. Many fear that the political tensions rising from this deadlock might further reinforce the Al-Shabaab insurrection that has intensified its attacks in the last year.
Let's go for a short break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. We shall be back with our sports news. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. And in our sports news today, the head coach for Uganda Under-20 national team, the Hippos Molly Biekwaso, believes that his squad is prepared enough to contend for the title of AFCON for Under-20 that is taking place in Mauritania. Coach Biekwaso made these remarks immediately after the last training before they departed to Mauritania for the finals. Uganda is in Group A, opening up with Mozambique on the 15th of this month. The Formula One world champion, Sir Lewis Hamilton, is staying with Mercedes for a 9th season, ending a long-running contract saga. Let's have more on this story. The 36-year-old has been out of contract since his last deal, worth over $50 million, expired on December 31st. Since joining Mercedes for the 2013 season, Hamilton has won 6 World Championship titles, moving him to levels with Michael on a record 7 for his career. But both parties agreed to just a 1-year contract. Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff said the two parties took time to agree to a new deal because of the effects of the pandemic. The British driver will be aiming for an 8th World Champion title as the F1 season begins in Bahrain next month. Now, before we end our bulletin, let's take a look at the top stories.
Supreme Court dismisses an application by new presidential candidate Robert Kyagulanyi to amend his election petition challenging Museveni's victory. DP women challenge government on violation of human rights. And in sports, Coach Mole Biekwaso is confident that his team, the Hippos, will contend for the AFCON Under-20 title.
Thank you for watching with us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is TV Africa, the right to know.
This is Africa, and that was the news.